Okay, this is the abstraction assignment based on the principle of creating less, which is more. So what you're going to do is pick an object. It could be a living thing. It could be just kind of an everyday object around your house. Clip art is always a helpful thing to look at because, again, it's very simple images. I know I've mentioned that before, but it kind of simplifies things and makes them look a little bit more graphic. This packet will be helpful. It shows, just the process that many students have gone through to get to like a simple abstracted form. Some clearly had far more steps. We are only going to do a triptych or a set of 3. So you'll draw in the first composition the object in its entirety, and again, it can be a living thing, so it could be something of your interest. It could be an animal, an insect, a flower, whatever. And then you're going to gradually zoom in to the point that is kind of enlarged or zoomed in an abstracted way. But again, this packet will be helpful to kind of look through to see how others have done it. This is a corkscrew, record player. Again, a little bit different means of abstraction in some of these, but I did want to just show you a variety so you could kind of see, different ways of that I have taught over the semesters, different means of abstraction. Now, again, you'll see some of these have a variety of different drawings in them. You're just doing a set of 3. And again, the goal is that you pick an object, like here's nail clippers. It could be something that's just totally, an everyday thing that we often overlook, like a set of keys, and you'll draw it its entirety and then gradually zoom in. So here's a head of cabbage, we have a screw, this is an owl, a flower, and they zoomed into part of that flower, and then a strawberry. So we also have that bumblebee from the cover. Here is an animal, a lizard. Again, insects are kind of fun. Here's a motorcycle, a gentleman doing karate. So again, it can be really graphic. Clip art is a good thing to kind of consider and look at. Again, you can certainly find your image online to trace the first of the frame. And then again, you're going to want to gradually abstract it. So this is definitely your hand doing the work. Okay, so let's talk about how you could potentially start this. Again, you're going to use a triptych. So you need 3 sheets of paper. Mine are a 4x4, okay? Initially, you're gonna wanna work in pencil and you're creating your first object. So I chose to do a little spool of thread. I happen to do lots of fiber work. And then after I did all of my pencil work, and I might even add a little more to this, I then used a flare pen to kind of create, my black outlines, and then got rid of all my pencil work. Okay? Something that I find really helpful is to make a viewfinder. You can cut 2 sheets of paper in the shape of an L, and then basically cross them to create a little frame that can be zoomed in and out. I use viewfinders a lot. So now what I'm going to do is create my next image. I want it to ultimately be a square, and I find it really helpful, and hopefully you all can see this, but I mark sometimes when I'm working. See if you can see this. Trying to get this in the frame here. A halfway point. Okay, so basically on these L's, once I decide, okay, I want this to be what I crop for my second image, this little halfway point, this is the halfway point, this is the halfway point. Okay, so then once I work then on this, I can say, okay, these are my halfway points on my square. And again, 4x4 is what I'm using. 6x6 would work, 3x3 would work. I wouldn't make it too tiny, it'd be a little difficult. And then again, I can see, okay, about halfway across the page, because I marked it halfway here, that's where the top of this is gonna go, okay? And then this is the halfway mark. So, okay, I know that the top of this needs to end about here. Because again, I've zoomed in to create this. okay? Then obviously I've got, you know, the side here, and then I've got a little tail sticking out of my thread here. And then of course I would work on trying to replicate, you know, the thread that goes down the spool. So hopefully you all can see this. It's a little difficult to record in here. And then now I've got this one. So again, I can zoom in again. And it could be, again, I want to make a square with my little viewfinders. It could be really, really zoomed in. I mean, it's totally up to you, but ultimately, and then you can make new halfway marks. So you could flip these upside down if these little dashes that you initially made are in your way. You know, maybe this is what you decide ultimately that you want to do. So I basically am only seeing, you know, this little part right here. Again, a halfway mark is helpful, I find, because you've got just an idea of, okay, placement to enlarge something. Even though you're working on a small piece of paper, you're trying to enlarge it. So if you draw little tiny dashes on all four sides to mark roughly where the halfway point is, and if you're doing the same thing then when you're zooming in on this, then you get an idea of saying, okay, and you could even lightly on your paper, because you could erase it later, draw just 4 squares. Really, really lightly. That will help you, again, kind of figure out, okay, where are my parameters? Logistically, where do I place what? And how big should it be? So I know, okay, if I'm gonna just lightly draw, again, this is very light because I would go back in and erase this. Lightly draw 4 squares. Then I know that, okay, this hole at the top of that now is gigantic. You know, it's taking up pretty much my whole top. And then I've got this line goes here. This is the top wooden part of a spool of thread. And then I've got my thread. Okay, so very, very simple. Again, you're gonna spend far more time than I am. I'm doing this very quick and rough, just to kind of show you how I got this. And I'm just gonna kind of zoom in a little so you all can see a little bit better. Again, I find that viewfinder is incredibly helpful. I use them a lot for different things. Sometimes I'll make just a little rectangle, kind of like what we did, seems like forever ago, when you worked on your Elements and Principles swatch study, and I just cut a little window out of it. But these are helpful because you can adjust the size, and if you just erase your little markings, then it's not such a big deal. Again, you're going to first work with pencil, and then you'll work with Sharpie or some kind of black pen. You'll take a picture of your triptych or your set of 3. And again, the goal is that you are making a project that shows abstraction. It shows less is more. So you're kind of zooming in to get like a blown up look that's abstracted of whatever object you decide to do.